Being raised with your parents and the Black Panthers is very interesting. Hindsight is 2020. You remember. I remember the meetings. I remember, different weapons around. I remember, the passion. I was out there right along with them, putting up, F the pigs posters. You
Wow.
know what I mean? So it was interesting because when you went to school, a lot of the kids didn't know what we were doing or what I was talking about. I came to school with the flyer when they're like, "What's this?" But because they wasn't taught it early like we were. Knowing our history as Black people was more, personified. And we know what was going down. It was about the people. It was about the struggle. It was about progression. It was about respecting the ancestors, different things that really wasn't taught in public schools. I don't think it was too much too early. I think that, people underestimate the youth all the time. And they're more capable of soaking up things than you think,
Wow.
I was one of them, so I know. Professionally, in like 1990, I did Feels Good with Tony. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that? Oh, girl. You better Google me, girl.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And I mean, that was before, before Pac hit, actually. And so I was the first one in the family with a professional hit record that was coming out. So Pac was amped. Oh, everybody was amped. We was happy. It went double platinum, and then it inspired Pac to get his hustle on. And I seen him doing it. You know what I mean? He would be on tour with Digital, and I would see dudes be like, "Yeah, man, I saw your brother. He said, you say you on that Feels Good joint. Like, yeah, he doing his thing too. It was a one of a lifetime experience to go through that. Two brothers having ample success at the same time. He grew up all over. I mean, we both did because our family was. There was a lot of surveillance on our family because of the FBI investigating Black Panther movements and Black liberation movements. So we were among the top, and so we kept moving around the country.
Can you go through, like, you was in Jamaica, Queens? Where was Pac during that time?
Pac was in Harlem, in the Bronx.
When did he leave?
Leland Projects in the Bronx. Our Aunt Glo was up there with all our other cousins, and we were living in Harlem. Then when I broke up, they went to the Bronx and then moved to different spots around New York. Ended up in Baltimore. He ended up in, I think he went through Ohio for a while. Everybody was struggling because my father was on the run, and our mothers was trying to make it as single parents. So we had to go where the opportunities allowed.
When did he end up in California?
Pac ended up in California like I believe it was 88. From Baltimore. He went from Baltimore to Cali to the Bay Area to get some help from Geronimo Pratt's family. Uncle G, that's Pac's godfather. When the family found out I was in the Bay as well, I was in Oakland. They moved to Marin, I was in Oakland. She sent me a card to come to Thanksgiving and see your brother and sister again. And that's how we linked back up. Once we linked back up in the Bay Area. Feels Good came out. Pac was on the grind trying to come up. He what was the name of that group? I can't remember the name of his first group. And they killed me. DJ Diz, Ray Love. So they was hustling, doing their thing, doing records. Pac eventually hooked up with Digital. Digital took him on tour with him. The record I was on was Steadily Climbing, went double platinum. Then Pac got the movie deal, Juice. That changed everything. Juice changed everything.
So Juice came before a record deal.
It kind of came simultaneously because he was with Digital anyway. So they were, nurturing him, trying to get him in a position. Matter of fact, same song had already come out. That was the first record he was on. Clown around when you hang around with the underground, So when Juice happened, and Juice was a blessing because that was supposed to be Money B's part.
Oh, really?
But, that's why I love Digital. Shock and Mun, they knew that Pac had done Apollo. He had acting chops. He went to acting school in Baltimore, so they knew he was more fit. Boom, he went it, did it, got it, boom, it was on. Off to the races. Once Juice was a hit, he got the offer to do Poetic Justice. And we moved to L.A. And John Singleton couldn't get Pac up in the morning to come to set. They were freaking out about, nah, we can't get Pac up. We can't get Pac to do this, do that, do that. We need somebody with him. So, they called me in the Bay. They said, yo, Mo, you got to come down and be with Pac, help Pac, because I'll help the director because we can't get him up.
Wow.
And so it was me, I'll boom, boom, boom. He throw at the door and yell at me, but I got him up, so
that's right.
I got to be with him during Poetic Justice, seeing Janet and all that,
How was that relationship, him and Janet? Just a quick sidebar. Did she
it
like
was
him?
cool. It was cool. I think she, I think she liked him, but she was apprehensive because Pac was wild. Pac was wild. I knew Biggie. Biggie was our boy. We were fans. We felt like Biggie had what it took to ride with Thug Life, and he would have been complimentary to our thing, and we at heart we New Yorkers. We from the East Coast, so we feeling them too, and that's what they all failed to realize. But Pac is real passionate. He's real. How do I put it? I feel like he would have changed his mind eventually about Biggie.
Was it because of who Biggie was as a person or artist?
I think he would have changed his mind because some of what he feeling was going down wasn't really going down. Things were moving so fast, I don't think he saw all the signs. I think that whole thing might have been misdiagnosed.
Okay, so you saying that Biggie wasn't good for Pac?
Biggie was good for Pac until a point. Pac is the Don. That's it. No ifs, ands, or but. And honestly, and Pac did give him some game. He would do that to young rappers coming up, and y'all out there know. Pac was good about giving game, helping dudes out, coming out, hopping on everybody's track. That's why there's so many of them out there, because cats be like, yo, Pac, come to the studio. If I can make it, I can make it. But he'd come through and do that. But I don't think Biggie was behind that, ultimately. You know what I mean? I don't think Biggie was behind that.
Biggie wasn't with Bad Boy at the time, though, right?
Yeah, I think he was. He was, but Bad Boy was all over the area. They would shoot a video around the corner. We seen Lil C's and them. They were there. So
essentially,
they were all over the area.
There was no room for two Dons.
I mean, Pac not that selfish, but you got to respect him. And at the time, everybody doing their thing. I'm like, Pac guys is busy. You know what I mean? Guys is into their own thing. He's like, if they take some of mine, they better give it up. And Pac felt like Biggie stole a lot of his swagger. And then when the hit went down, that just amplified it.
And the hit was what?
When they tried to rob him in New York.
And led to a shooting.
Mm-hmm.
Where was he shot?
Pac was shot, I think 1 or 2 bullets went in his skin, around his skull, and out the back.
You're kidding.
And he got shot in the foot, I believe. But the headshots was the ones that really, shook me.
Right.
I'm like, boy, you are truly blessed. Truly, truly blessed. I was in LA. I was what was we working on? I stayed in LA to work on the Thug Life album. Pac went to New York to shoot Above the Rim. And, we had all this work. It had to get done. So I oversaw the Thug Life album. He went and did the movie. He was hanging with certain unsavory characters back there in New York, Not that all New Yorkers is bad, but them dudes is, bad business. And that happened as well as the rape case.
Absolutely.
So you was asking me what happened between and Death Row. All of this was going on in between.
Did Pac rape that girl?
Hell no. Hell no. Pac did not have to rape any woman. It's really a trip. My brother was a sex symbol.
That's right.
He was a sex symbol. So, out of the 3 or 4 people in the room, who would be more likely to rape somebody? You dig? Not Machiavelli the Don. So, but, he sucked it up. He did that. Went to the pen, He did that.
So he was convicted of a rape.
I think they used some other term, sexual something. It wasn't rape, but it was a rape type of charge.
Where is she now?
Who knows?
So she just disappeared.
The show is funny. Nah, Simon been trying to get. He had been trying to get with Pac because Pac was signed to Interscope, and Suge was in the Interscope building because Death Row was right across the hall. So ever since Keep Your Head Up, they had been chopping it up, and then I believe Death Row was over the soundtrack for Above the Rim, and Suge paid Pac nicely for it, and Pac didn't forget it. So by the time all this stuff started going down, he was between a rock and a hard place, and at that point, Pac and Suge was cool. There was no problem. We knew the reputation of the Row. We knew the reputation of all these dudes, but this Thug Life, this was us. This was Machiavelli Don. We ain't had no fear. And we didn't want to fall into the trap of not trusting a black man and doing business with our own because of what the media talking about. We took that chance for us. You know what I mean? Fair exchange ain't no robbery. Fair exchange ain't no robbery. They both had, it's like 2 big corporations coming together. They both had assets to give to each other. They could have made a lot more money together. It's a crying shame, as my daddy say. It's a crying shame.
Did Pac love Suge like friends? Was that his boy? Did Suge love Pac?
At first, it was all good. Pac had just got out of jail. He decided to roll with Death Row. We was thinking positive. We did All Eyes on Me at Can-Am. It was all laughing and drinking. All his buddies coming through hollering at him, because he just got out of jail. We went to Mexico. We was balling. Things was good for a while. But slowly, I was more quiet than my brother. So I was observing different things that he wasn't. And then, you know, I'll bring it to his attention. I'm like, yo, Pac, whoop-de-whoop, whoop-de-whoop. He said, I love you for that mo, but I got to do this, whoop, whoop, whoop. You know, because he's a loyal dude. You know, he's looking at it, you know, dude, these cats put up $1.2 million to get me out, and I'm a ride for him. And that's typical Pac. You know, he's loyal. So that's how we ended up over there.
Wow.
I think Pac did trust Simon at first. I think Pac only had good intentions for them dudes. It's, you know, it's upsetting. It angers me because as black people, at the end of the day, you know, we represent. For black people, it would have been a beautiful thing for it to flourish even more. But because of greed, mainly, you know, somebody put the hit down. You know, I don't think it was random. I don't think Orlando Anderson was the key person to push buttons. I think he's the Jack Ruby of the whole thing. You know what I mean? That's my personal opinion. You know what I mean? Everybody was at first. I didn't feel nothing from nobody at first. I mean, especially Snoop and Pac came up together. You know, Thug Life and Dog Pound, we like came up together. You know, Murder Was the Case and I Get Around was the same time we would see each other at Travis. Yeah, you know what I mean? Keep it moving. That might have changed over time because that group of people hadn't been around Pac like we had. So they didn't know how Pac is as a celebrity, as a star. To actually deal with him requires more attention, more time, because he's Pac. Now, you know, a few other people around might not have been used to that, but that's the way it is. You know, that was the way it was. Either like it or get ghost.
No love lost.
No love lost, you know. But, you know, Pac feel he should have certain things. Like you said, Pac was bringing something to Death Row, too. You know, certain things that they didn't have. So, you know, it is what it is. Mm-hmm. During that time, I think Death Row was good for Pac in the first few months. Pac was only at Death Row for like 9 months out of his whole career. Yeah, people, you would think that he was there longer, but he was only there like 9 months, you know. So for those first few months, when he first got out of jail, it was good.
Wow.
I'll leave it at that.
Wow.
Well, I don't know if y'all know the story about Pac and Kidada, but, you know, how they met was Kidada's sister. No, Pac did an article dissing Quincy, and then Kidada's sister responded to him. And so when Pac was in the club looking for Kidada's sister, he ran into Kidada, and then it was a wrap. But when I saw them together, they looked happy. They were straight. You know, I was like, all right, little bruh. You know what I mean? I was proud of him. You know, a businesswoman, a serious woman. You know what I mean? Not a hoochie, not a, you know what I mean? So.
That's deep. So, do you think if he had not have gotten assassinated, would she and him be together?
If Pac hadn't got assassinated, I definitely think they would have got married, had babies, the whole nine. Because Pac loved kids. Pac loved kids. I think he was just waiting for the right woman to have him with, you know.
So he didn't have any babies.
Now, you know, if Pac had some babies, that woman would have been came out years ago.
That's right.
So. Pac was tight with not all of his bodyguards, but a few of them, you know, and they know who they are. Frank, he grew tighter and tighter with Frank, you know, like the footage in the movie is that's his niece, I believe, in the wheelchair, because Janet Jackson flaked on her, you know, and, you know, Pac said, you know, come to the studio, I'll kick it with you, you know what I mean, for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. That's Frank's niece, I believe. And so, you know, they got closer and closer and closer, you know, because Pac was a likable person. He was real likable. Hackey, too. You know, Hackey was one of the first security people with our group, because it wasn't just Pac, it was Pac and, you know, Outlaws, us, you know. But I don't know, for some reason, soon after, he got taken off of Pac.
If Pac could say anything about what's going on right now.
Going on how? With
this, all the books, all the fighting, the murders that happened after he died, the conspiracies, all this stuff, like what would Pac be saying right now about all that stuff?
Okay, first of all, he wouldn't be saying, he'd be yelling. I think Pac would be saying about all the stuff going on. I think Pac would be saying to tell the truth. Pac was big on keeping it real, you know, and whatever the real is should be brought to light. With all the negligence that went down there, you know, with 50, 60 police at your, you know, at your hand, you know, within a hand's grasp, the money, the weapons, the bravado. What happened? I'm like 5'9", 180 pounds. When I was watching Pac, ain't nothing happened to him. People used to call me his bodyguard. I'm his brother, but they was calling me his bodyguard. Ain't nothing happened to him for 4 years until he got over there. I don't know who killed him, but you tell me. Judge for yourself. I think Pac still matters to the world because, like I said, in a way, he represents truth. The real. People want the real. They want the truth. They want... And Pac was blessed with the gift of being able to make people feel you without touching you. That's what music's all about. People can do it, but he can do it in a way like the great leaders of our time, like Malcolm, like Martin. When he would talk, things would happen, you know. And I think Pac was a great man. I think Pac was a great man, but his governor was broke. You know, in the car, when you got your governor where you could only go a certain... Pac had to go all the way. Every time. All out or nothing. You know? And that would happen with his mouth. And sometimes words cut like a knife. You dig? You know? And I don't think Pac... I don't think he knew how powerful he was. You know, like I saw Jada Pinkett do an interview about him, saying that, you know, he was wasting his time. You know, it was like a waste of time. You're so far out of their league, you know, and they got you wrapped up in this little spot, you know. Arguments was like brother arguments. We, for example, when we were on tour on the road, you know, I had like 5 jobs. You know, I had like 5 jobs. I was working the music on stage. I had my parts in the songs. I had to get people to and from the hotel. I had to, you know, we was just making it happen. But this one day, you know, this is back in the days where we were using DATs, and I queued up the DAT to the wrong spot. And Pac, he just blasted me in front of the whole crowd. I'm sorry, y'all. That's my stupid brother. That's my stupid brother on the mix. You know, I wanted to kill him. But it's stuff like that. Tupac Mopreme Shakur is a very strong spirit. I still feel him today in different ways. And if you were around when he was writing them songs, if you were around in them early days, and then he wouldn't pay no attention to it, but you know, when we would listen to the demos, like, what did Pac say? What did he say? It's like, oh, that just happened last night. And then we like, whoa, that's spooky. But Pac was a very spiritual person, and you could tell. You know, he's always talking about God. He talks about God and death, God and death in his songs. And that's because I think he had a heightened antenna. You know, his antenna was more sensitive than ours. Amazing. Pac definitely knew he was going to die early. He would have nightmares. He would wake up screaming, hollering. He knew he would have visions of his death in different ways, but he didn't know which way. From what I heard, you know, from different people around, that, you know, that night, Kadada was trying to get him to wear his bulletproof vest, but he refused because it was too hot. That's what I heard. That's what I've been hearing from other people. I wasn't there, but considering Death Row is there, you know, and Flight Night Security, whoever guarding them, you know, you think you'd be protected.
Yeah, you would.
My first reaction when I first heard about Pac getting shot, I thought it was a mistake. I thought Pac shot somebody. I thought Pac was doing the shooting. You know, that was the last thing on my mind, that he would get hit in Vegas.
So when you first heard, you thought Pac was doing the shooting. When it dawned on you that my brother, did you find out when he was in the hospital or when he had already passed? As soon as he
I found out a few hours after it happened. I mean, the sun was up, but I found out that very next morning. And I had just gotten married. I just had my daughter, Cheyenne, and we beeline to Vegas. So I got to see him, you know, as soon as we got there, I went to see him, you know. And, you know, I say this in all the interviews, Pac was trying to tell me something. He was still, you know, he had tubes all in him, but you know how you communicate with your eyes? He was trying to tell me something. And I never got to find out. As soon as I got to L.A., they say he passed. Well, so I wasn't there.
Who called you?
It's interesting. I found out through the radio. The fans was all, you know, at that time, the whole community was want to know what was up with Pac. So as soon as it went down, it hit the airways. So I found out from the radio before any other way.
When you first walked in Vegas and you saw him, did you think he was going to make it somewhere in your heart?
Yes. Because I knew Pac was special. Pac was touched. Pac was blessed. Pac then came out of a whole lot of stuff, you know, and I had faith and believed in him that he would pull out. And I knew how strong he was as well. But when I first saw him, I just broke down. My sister said, she was like, stop crying, don't let him see you crying, don't let him see you crying. I was like, you know, but, and then he was trying to communicate with me, you know, with his eyes, he was just shaking the bed. I'm like, chill out, you're going to break something else, you're going to hurt something else. He was just shaking the bed, you know, trying to communicate something, but never found out. And I was irritated that When I got to the hospital, there was no security. There was no security around the hospital, and they had Pac on the first floor. You know, I was in the military. I know tactics, maneuvers, and all that. I'm like, he's on the first floor. You know, I didn't see no security. Me and Brother Watani Tahimbo, who was his old manager, you know, we set up a perimeter around the hospital. You know. But spirit lives. Machiavelli lives. You know. It's like energy changes forms. Pac was too much for this world. He was just too much. Couldn't handle it.
Wow. That's deep. So after you, well, first of all, what did you think? Did you think, you know, where was his people? What was up? What's the deal?
I thought all those thoughts went through my mind of, what the happened? Excuse my French. What the hell happened? What's going on? I thought this is big bad death row. How the hell y'all let them? How come ain't nobody chase them? All them questions went through my mind, you know. But it was different for me because since I had been with him from day one, I knew all the enemies. You know, I was thinking, was this enemy that came up? These niggas in the Bay came up in him? Niggas from New York? Or, you know what I mean? We had done it all. Was it cats in Chicago? Or it could have came from anywhere. So I had to evaluate all the information, which took a long time. And, you know, I do believe it was conspiracy. That's why there's all this confusion.
Amen. Amen.
You know, it was meant to be confusing. You dig? So it wasn't no accident. Even if I would have different feelings, even if it was, you know, some straight up gang bang gangster shit. And I don't think it was that. You know? I don't know.
So
judge for yourself. Buy the DVD.
So you don't think that Orlando Anderson maybe he was a shooter, but he wasn't behind it? What is your theory?
I believe Orlando Anderson was some kind of pawn. Can I curse?
Yeah, you could curse.
Because my emotions is getting...
Oh, you
know
want
what I'm
to.
saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Negroes do a whole bunch of stupid shit for money. And ain't no telling. Ain't no telling. I think it's bigger than just some gangbangers.
It was clean.
Very clean. Nice and tidy. And I keep saying to people, you know your enemy. Know your enemy. That's where what Pac and I learned as kids growing up about FBI, COINTELPRO, covert operations that, you know, that are invisible to you or can be real. You know what I mean? So it's a crying shame, but now it's in their hands.
The world feels like they lost Tupac, but I feel like his family lost him.
Thank you. I mean, because that all gets lost in translation, you know. But it's around me personally. He's around me too much. His life is my life. So if I didn't find a way to be strong about it, I'd be breaking down every day. I hear him every day, see him every day. Hear him every day, see him every day. And I feel fortunate because a lot of people who lost their loved ones don't get that.
It got to be hard.
At times it makes me feel proud. At times I get real sad. At times, you know, I just miss him. You know, at times I wish I could just share something with him to get his response, especially about just funny shit. It's just, yeah, I miss him. Miss him, true indeed.
Do you think Tupac would want the world to know who shot him or who killed him or who was responsible for his murder?
Definitely.
Can you say it?
I do think Pac would want to know who took him out. I think Pac would want his fans to know if it was a real nigga or one of them cowards. You know, evidently he was a coward because they had to do a whole conspiracy and all that to take him out. You know, Pac wasn't scared to die. He was a soldier. You know, he was just knowing when. You know, and like I said, he was big about truth. So if it's on us now. So if we find out who killed him, I think he would want everybody to know. You know, and deal with Pac fans. Pac fans is no joke. Pac fans is no joke. Please believe it.
Can they holler at you?
Holler at your boy. It's still Thug Life, baby. I'm still in here doing it.
Where can they reach you?
Hit me up on my MySpace /Mr. Mopreme Shakur. Holla at your boy.
I think that's it.
Keeping it thugging. West Side, worldwide, South Side.